What's going on, guys? Joby here, bringing another best class setup video, and today we're going to be taking a look at the best class for the ARX-160. So to start with, for the gun, it's fully automatic with an insanely high fire rate, and the first 3 rounds have reduced recoil, so this is really good when you're shooting from afar. So it has 0 recoil technically for the first 3 rounds, so if you can get those first 3 rounds on target, you can definitely have an advantage in a gunfight. And another thing is that it's got an integrated laser sight on for increased hip fire accuracy. Now the best thing about this is that it doesn't take an attachment slot, so in total you can have a total of 4 attachments on your gun. So this is obviously really good because you can definitely have an advantage and take full potential of all those attachments that you can be using on your gun. But another thing is that since it's got the laser sight on, it increases the hip fire spread, so you do not need to put on steady aim unless you absolutely have to. So now, as for the attachment, we are going to be using muzzle brake for increased damage over a long distance, and since it's got the insanely reduced recoil for the first 3 rounds, we want to make sure we can get those first 3 rounds on target, and it will increase the bullet damage over a long range. So that's why we're using muzzle brake for our first attachment. Now for our second attachment, we are going to be using the tracker sight. Since we're going to be killing people over a long distance, we want to make sure we can detect the enemies for an easy kill. Now also, if you do not like the tracker sight, you can easily flip it to the integrated hind sights that it's got on, and this is really good for close quarter combat as well. Now, we're not going to be using any secondary, but we are going to be using a lethal, which is a C4. So this is just really because if we're rushing and we just want to check some corners, all we got to do is chuck it in there, double tack X or square, and then we can just check, see if there's anybody around the corner, or if you're in a gunfight and then they get into cover, instead of going around there and risking your life, just chuck a C4 over there and hopefully it will kill him. Now as for our perks, for the first perk, we are going to be using ready up, which makes it so our weapon is ready up faster after sprinting, and since we've got the laser sight on, we can just hip fire any guys that get close to us, so that's why we're using ready up for our first perk. Now for our second perk, we are going to be using slide to fan, which makes it so we can reload faster. Now this is really good because we want to make sure that every time we get into a gunfight, we've got our maximum ammunition in our clip. Now thirdly, we've got Stalker, which moves faster while aiming down the sights. Now this is really good when we're shooting from afar, so we can strafe the enemy's bullets to stay alive and keep our streak. Now for our fourth perk, we're going to be using Scavenger, resupply ammo from dead players, and because since we're going to be killing people from afar and up close, we're going to be spraying and praying with this gun, so we want to make sure we can resupply ammo to keep our streak going and make sure we can stay alive. Now for our last perk, we are going to be using Focus, which makes it so it reduces the weapon sway, because the tracker sight does have a lot of sway, so the focus will reduce it tremendously. But also, if we do get into a gunfight and they're shooting at us, we'll also be able to make sure that we do not flinch as much if we didn't have this perk.